Interstellar is a tricky little film. As much as it is about space, it's actually even more about man and the responsibility of man to Earth. Well, that's one part anyway. Interstellar is incredibly ambitious, and many have been likening it to be director Christopher Nolan's 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I would actually disagree with on a few points. I'm nicely saying those people are wrong. You see, 2001 is very abstract in nature, leaving it open to a lot of philosophical and allegorical discussions. Are we looking at the film from an evolutionary standpoint? Is it the rise and fall of man, the cosmic nature of man in a void of nothingness? Interstellar, on the other hand, doesn't lend itself to such open-ended components. And most of the time, the film is kind of holding the audience's hand, alerting us to themes being discussed and the many plot points that we're going to be striking along the way. It's something that tends to befall a Nolan film. We get a little caught up in buzzword bingo, space-time, relative, time shift. These words rain down on an audience like a meteor shower. Space reference! Sorry, you gotta do at least one. It's one thing to be looking out for the audience, but it seems Interstellar doubts the audience's ability to hold on the whole time. So things are overly explained when that time could have been better spent getting to know our characters and, you know, just moving forward with the plot. What I'm saying is, when you over-explain things, you tend to halt momentum. We're spending so much time discussing what's about to happen that we're not actually having it happen, and that really slows us down. Instead, we're stuck back discussing over and over the things that will be happening, and by cycling back to make sure that everybody's on the same page, it can become really annoying when we just want to be moving on to plot now. We see Matthew McConaughey joining a voyage out into space, looking to find man's salvation through a wormhole. Yes, there certainly is more to the plot, but I'd actually like to look at it through the parallels of Christopher Nolan's previous work, Inception. Our male protagonist is motivated to take this job because of his children. He's introduced to a pivotal female character by Michael Caine. They make several jumps which lead to time shifts and new atmospheres, and while we're experiencing these time shift jumps, we're slowly losing more and more of our team, ultimately leading to our main character sacrificing himself and being stuck in this weird memory prison of sorts. And once there, it's a chance for him to reconcile with this guilt and regret, and in many ways reconnect with a person who feels abandoned. So yeah, lots of plot and thematic parallels there. And I'm not bashing on Nolan for recycling some ideas. Nolan's gone on record multiple times addressing the films that he makes are in some ways about himself and film, and this is purely conjecture on my part, but I think in many ways this regret that he feels, often reflected towards children, is perhaps Christopher Nolan apologizing to his kids for being like, Daddy's gotta work and make these films for people. This idea of regret is even present in Dark Knight Rises. Bruce Wayne feels a responsibility to the city of Gotham, but in doing so, he's giving up a lot of himself. Such is the case with Cobb, such is the case with Cooper. So it makes sense that Interstellar is not a 2001 wide-open abstract film, but in fact a very personal film seen through the lens of interstellar space travel. Again, this could just be me grasping at straws, but the Inception-Interstellar parallels got me thinking. And not just thinking, but also appreciating, because Christopher Nolan is excellent when it comes to world building. The way Nolan presents the future is simple, sparse, and clean. Dust Bowl-like conditions, crops slowly failing out. We're not looking at some sleek, metallic, hologram-filled future, which makes it, in turn, more accessible. That said, on a less accessible level, I love the way that robots are portrayed in this film. They're practical, pragmatic, offer a fair amount of humor, and they're not evil. Not only are they not evil, but the corporation behind them isn't evil. NASA doesn't have some alternate agenda. It's just that one man gave up on humanity. And that's really cool and really tragic. And then if we look to Matt Damon's character, Dr. Mann, clever. We see when faced with extinction, he chooses to be selfish, which, if we reflect that back to Earth, man is being selfish, not thinking of the future, and that is why man will be man's own end. But then we see through humanity's compassion, we're able to bend space-time, somehow, plot resolves itself. It's okay, black holes, we don't have any understanding, I guess. Love is the fifth dimension? Look, I'm not going to say that Interstellar is airtight, but it offers an interesting journey. That said, some of the journey feels a little empty, as many of our characters just seem like vessels for ideologies rather than personalities. And for that very reason, I really have to ask, why did we need Anne Hathaway or Matt Damon or Casey Affleck or Topher Grace cast in any of those roles? I mean, outside of the chance to work with Nolan. Sure, performances are good, but outside of Matthew McConaughey and maybe Jessica Chastain, we're not getting much depth from our characters. But even with somewhat bland characters and overly explained plot, Interstellar had me hooked the whole time. The film is excellently edited, has dazzling cinematography, offers superb tension and action, and has a solid emotional core in that father-daughter relationship. Proven to be both entertaining and thought-provoking, Interstellar is worth seeing, though not a perfect black hole in one. Space reference! It couldn't be helped. So those are my thoughts on Interstellar. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And of course, if you'd like more from me, you can check out previous videos, like my review of Whiplash, or maybe check out my movie talk on Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. And hey, I also have something for you guys. If any of you out there are editors like me, or looking to break into YouTube, or just looking to polish up or pick up a new skill, then why not check the link in the description, lynda.com/belatedmedia, to gain access to a ton of tutorials. They've got tutorials for Premiere, Photoshop, After Effects. If you're curious about marketing or 3D modeling or web design, they've got you covered. Like, if you just start clicking through, you'll find a bunch of really interesting subjects. So if you're looking to up your game, you've got a 10-day free trial on me, lynda.com/belatedmedia. Binge watch the heck out of their library. They've got 77,000 plus videos, and they're always adding to them. So check out that, these, comment, click, and keep loving movies, guys. As for me, well, I feel we need to go over that over-explaining thing and hand-holding thing just a little bit more. I just wanted to be clear, the idea of hand-holding, there's not an actual physical hand, it's more of a conceptual thing. It's the personification of the film. That's when you attribute human-like characteristics to a non-human subject. So animals are frequently personified in films, objects can be personified. In the case, the film is hand-holding, it's reaching out a hand to the audience, which also, the collective audience doesn't have a hand. But you know what, maybe I'm not making this clear. I've got some slides